Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I pulled out my Doodlebug Happy Healing collection to document Eli's experience with getting braces. I pulled this sketch, which is from Scrapbook and Cards today from their Spring 2023. It is an Allison Davis sketch, and I will link it below for you. When I saw this sketch of the Easter eggs, my immediate thought was, I wonder if I can do some braces and some teeth across the center instead of the eggs, and I just went with it. So I pulled out all of the photos from Eli's first visit to the orthodontist of getting his braces. Obviously, we had a consultation before that, but there wasn't really anything to that appointment. I first want to say that I love Eli's orthodontist for so many different reasons, but the main one is that he understands that we want pictures. I was being very respectful of standing farther back so that I wasn't interfering with him or his team in regards to getting the braces on. And I was zoomed in pretty far on my phone. And he was like, "No, you don't need to stand that far back. Come and get closer." So I have some really close pictures of his mouth. What I did was I took the photos, I printed them all out, and then I numbered the back of them because I did want them in order. I started out with him before we even started, and I wanted to get that like classic before picture. And then along the way, I have all of the steps that they were doing. So they first put on this like blue gel stuff, and then they put the brackets on. Then the orthodontist came over and checked it, and then they put the wires in. And then, of course, at the very end, that final picture where we're standing outside and he has his braces on. So I pull out my silhouette and I found this cut file of two teeth that had braces on it. I then duplicated the teeth and welded them together so that I could have a full 12-inch of teeth across the center layout. And then, of course, cut it out twice so that I could have it on both sides of the layout. The sketch calls for a piece of pattern paper behind the Easter eggs. And at first I was like, of course I'm going to do white. I did pull out my Doodlebug Petite prints, and I thought maybe that I would use one of the white tone on tone. But the more I thought about it, I was like, teeth are white. They just need to be white. So then I thought, well, I'll just cut out another piece of white cardstock and put the teeth on that. I'm actually using a white piece of cardstock that I went to cut the teeth out in the white, but then realized that it didn't look right in the white and it didn't cut all the way through. So I knew that I could turn it over and use the backside of it. So I was going to lay down the white cardstock in the background and then have a row of these blue teeth paper from the Doodlebug Happy Healing collection. And I didn't really measure the teeth paper. I was really just wanting one single row of the teeth. And for some reason, I only cut out 3, so then I had to cut out a 4th one. I even go as far as putting adhesive on the back of the white cardstock, and I was about to put this white cardstock down on top of another piece of white cardstock. At that point, I was like, oh, yeah, I don't need this piece. By having the row of teeth paper at the top and bottom, it gives the same effect as if I had a piece of white cardstock there. So at this point, I finally smartened up and realized that I don't need it. I did put the bottom row way too far down. So I did have to pull out my spatula and take that up and then move it up a little bit. And I struggle with it a lot. I then realized that I'm just going to put the teeth paper down and measure it that way with the teeth in the center because I was just struggling with it. My silhouette mats are super sticky, and so the teeth were adhering to the white paper even without any type of other adhesive, just from being on the sticky mat. So I was just using it as a placeholder until I got the 2 strips of the teeth down. Once I got the blue strips down, I did some paper shaving and cut off the pieces that were hanging off the edge. Then I pulled out my glue press and put just a small line of liquid adhesive on the back of these teeth because I didn't want the liquid adhesive to squeeze out. I didn't put a lot of adhesive in the center because I knew that I was going to be stitching, so I put a very small amount in the center. And of course, I do it to the other side as well. As I'm getting that down, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my subscriber count. I am so close to 3,000 subscribers. When I was looking at my analytics recently, I noticed that about 40% of you who watch my videos on a regular basis are not subscribed to me. I would love for you guys to click that subscribe button and get me over that 3,000 mark. I have a video planned for my 3,000 count, as well as I have an extra surprise once I reach 3,000 subscribers. I don't get anything extra for having 3,000 subscribers. It's not a huge milestone on YouTube, but it's just one of those numbers that I feel like I have reached so hard to get in the last year. You guys remember back in January when I started, my channel had been kind of dormant for about a year, and the amount of growth that I have seen in the last 8 months has been significant. And if I can reach that 3,000 subscriber mark, it would just be a personal goal of mine. So if you're not already subscribed and you love my content, if you will just hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. Once I get the teeth down, I use the center part of the cutouts to add the two little brackets to the center of the teeth. I'm going to end up stitching a row of white thread across the teeth. Of course, the metal part of the braces is silver, but because the entire thing was silver, I felt like it wouldn't have been beneficial for me to do silver on the teeth as well. So I'm using this little tool that I picked up from scrapbook.com. I'll link the haul video here so that you can see exactly what I picked up, but I am loving this tool. On one side of it, it has some wax that helps you pick up the items, and then the other side is kind of like a poker tool, and I use that to move the pieces around so that they fit into place. It's a great tool for items like this when you're doing paper piecing, but it's also a great tool to use when you are making dickers or tiny stars. At first, I was just going to reuse the piece over and over again, but then it became so much work. So I was like, let me just put all of the little squares in the center and then put the brackets in between those and then peel all of them up once I got all of it down. And it did go a lot quicker when I did it that way. And of course, you know, I have to rinse and repeat on the other side as well. So now the base of my layout is done, which there's not a whole lot to this layout because there are a ton of photos. I was able to get 11 photos of Eli on this layout. And then later on, I actually bring in 4 additional photos. So there is a total of 15 photos on this layout. And they are anywhere from 3x4 to 3x3, which is that's the majority of them. And then obviously I have that one 4x6 on the far right-hand side. And then those 4 smaller photos that I brought in were 2x2 size. But I love being able to get this amount of photos on a layout. Even with 15 photos on this layout, I feel like that center part is such a focal point that it really does have a huge impact. I don't feel like the layout is very photo heavy or embellishment heavy. It's really balanced, at least in my mind. So Eli's been wearing braces for about 18 months now. He's got about another year or so. We made sure that we were able to get the braces pretty early on because he didn't want to go to high school with braces. So he got his braces at the end of his 6th grade year. About a week after school ended is when he first got his braces. I also wanted to give him the opportunity to get used to his braces over the summer so that he wasn't dealing with the pain of brand new braces and all of that comes with it, as well as dealing with school. So he was able to get used to his braces, and then when he started 7th grade, he had his braces. So he'll wear his braces in 7th grade, and then all of 8th grade, which is this year, he should be able to have his braces taken off over the summer next year. So he'll start high school with very straight teeth. So once I got all the photos down, I pulled out this card here that says, "We're rootin' for you," which I thought was super cute. I did cut off the little corner pieces, and then I used a small circle punch to cut out the center of the tag hole. And then these are the 2x2 photos that I wanted to add in. I knew I could have used some embellishment pieces from the collection, but the photos that I took in the office were things like his welcome packet, which is up there in the upper left-hand side, as well as some letter boards that they had displayed in the office. Over on the far right, it says, "Brace yourself and enjoy the ride," and then it actually has QR codes for ways that you can pay. Over on the far left, on the bottom, it says, "Hello, welcome, thank you for letting us make you smile, Shannon Ortho," which is the name of his orthodontist. And then in the bottom right, next to that tag that says, "We're rooting for you," it is the breakdown of the pricing for the braces, because paying for braces is not a cheap thing, and I wanted to have that on here. I had Invisalign as an adult, and I had purchased a couple of different pieces that I could use on a layout. And so I did pull in that sticker sheet. I didn't add a lot. I just added one sticker that says no pain, no gain. And I added that down to the very bottom. The glasses that he's wearing are super cute. They're actually the logo for the office. They have the kids wear those like really cool sunglasses that have their logos on it instead of wearing like safety glasses or goggles or things like that. It protects their eyes. But I think it's really cool because you can definitely see that in the bottom. His orthodontist logo looks kind of like the Superman logo, but it's a tooth with a brace piece on it. It's a super cute logo, and I think that that's really awesome that they have them wear that. And then he also got a shirt when he got his braces put on that has that same logo on it. I did put 2 of the 2x2 photos up on FunFoam, and then I did put 2 flat to the layout as well. I also pulled out my twine and put that on my tag. Off camera is where I did my stitching. Like I said, I did a white row for where the metal pieces of the braces would be. And then around the brackets, I did a blue color, and it doesn't match the layout, but it matches the color of the brackets that he had put on his teeth the very first time. I felt like I needed just a pop of color, so I pulled out the cherry Doodlebug in the stripes. At first I used my banner punch to cut out a banner, and I was going to add that to the top and bottom. I used my banner punch, I cut out the entire thing, I cut out the strip, went to add it, and I just didn't like it. I felt like it was pulling away from the teeth too much, and I just really wanted a pop of color. I didn't want to distract from the teeth because the teeth part of this layout is the big part of this layout. So I went back to my trimmer and just cut out a 1/4 of an inch. I even think that it might be smaller than a 1/4 of an inch. I cut out the tiniest piece. It might even be 1/8 of an inch. I just wanted a pop of color. I had that cherry color on the tag that says we're rooting for you. There's like a small little red heart, as well as the tag reinforcer piece is red. So I felt like by adding that cherry piece to the top and bottom of the row of teeth, that it would just give it a little bit extra. And I like that thin piece there. So let me know in the comments below, have you guys documented any of your kids getting braces or yourself getting braces? Like I said, I did Invisalign as an adult. I did a 6x8 book, and that book really was more focused on my movement of my teeth as opposed to anything else really, because with Invisalign, you have an actual projection of what your teeth is going to look like because you have so many of the different Invisaligns that you have to switch out. You change out your Invisalign every 2 weeks, or at least I did. And when I first got my projection, they gave me actually a video slide of all of the way my teeth were going to progress throughout the time. So I just did a 6x8. I didn't do a lot of scrapbooking with it. It really was more of just a way to document that. I probably should go back and do at least a couple of layouts now, especially since I have this line from Doodlebug. Also, back when I did my journey through Invisalign, there wasn't a lot of paper or embellishment pieces for things like teeth. I had one sticker sheet, and I think I found one sheet of paper, and the piece of paper had the words dentist and orthodontist and things that you would use in the dentist written all over it. So it was a piece that I couldn't even imagine figuring out a way to use. I did pull out my dies, and at first I thought I was going to have my title say A Journey to the Perfect Smile, but I just wasn't liking the way that that looked. And of course, when I have that problem, I'll go do something else. So at this point, I am putting down glue dots on my twine over on the right with my tag. I start to bring out my white cardstock because I knew that I was going to do Dickers. I am cutting out the word perfect. I purchased both of these die sets from scrapbook.com, and it's in my haul video that I've already linked for you guys. I'll also link it below for you. I love using these dies, and these dies are probably my favorite dies to pair together. You have that block set that has some swirls to it, but then you also have a scripty font for some other words as well. Here you can see that I went as far as putting my title on my silhouette mat to start making the Dickers. And then also cutting out the second set of white cardstock to add to my Dickers as well. And then I thought, I just don't like that title. So I did a Google search for orthodontist scrapbook layouts, and I found this title that says First Day Behind Bars. And I just love that title. I am all about some punny titles. Definitely not anything that I can come up with on my own. But if I can do a Google search and find something that is funny and punny, I will absolutely do it. So I first start out with trying to reuse some of the letters that I had already cut out, which I was able to do a couple of the letters, and then going back to my Big Shot and cutting out the other pieces. I am using Nicole's Dicker techniques, and I will link her video here. She has an amazing tutorial where she walks through all of the tools that she has purchased and used, all the tools that she recommends, as well as different ways that you can really make your Dickers just amazing. Things that include using stamps as well as pattern paper and just a bunch of different things. It's an amazing video. Definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. So once I got the behind bars cut out, then I was looking for the first day, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to write that out. I didn't know if I was going to use this plain font that I have. I think it's called a typewriter font, along with a number. You can see here that I cut out a couple of numbers trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then I also cut out the word day in a cursive font. And then going back to not being able to decide, I thought, why don't I just go ahead and stack my Dickers? And as I'm doing that, I can look at the first and the word day, and hopefully it will come to me as to which one that I should use. Once I got my back layers down, I pulled out the grid pattern in the swimming pool color and cut the top layer of my Dickers. I did zoom in on this part so that you can see laying down the top layer of the Dickers. Again, going back to using this tool, I love this thing. It really does help when you are trying to stack things. It makes it super easy to pick up the pattern paper, and then once you get it down kind of close to where you want it, using the other side to truly move it into place. If you have fat fingers like me, which I am well known for typing in things wrong or using fat fingers and putting things wrong, it really does help having that tiny tool to move things around. At this point, I've gotten the behind bars down on my layout, and I'm using my glue press to add the title down. And it looks really hard to see on camera, but I can tell you that the title does stand out a lot in real life. At this point, I had made the decision that I didn't like the number 1, that I was going to actually use the word first. So I pulled out my Xyron sticker maker. I really enjoy using this tool for this really fine font. Once I put the letters through the Xyron machine, I will use a pointer tool, usually whichever ones I have close, whether it's this one or my Tim Holtz one, and go around the letters. This helps with making sure that the glue doesn't seep out the sides and give it that like gooiness to it. I don't know how else to explain it, but it just helps keep everything underneath the letter itself. At first I was going to put the scripty title on top of the word behind, but I didn't like the way that it looped into the word behind. So I just moved it over to the far left, and I definitely like it a lot better over there. It also gives the title more room to breathe and gives the viewer the opportunity to actually see the entire title. And of course, I always have trouble putting the dot to the I, but I do finally get it down. And I felt like I just needed a little extra to this, but I didn't want to, again, take away from the teeth or any other pieces. So I just made a couple of tiny stars. The same way that I made my Dickers, I'm cutting out the stars in 2 layers of white, and then I'm going to use the pattern paper to cut out a top layer, and I'm going to use the swimming pool and the cherry to do that. I picked up this die with my scrapbook.com order, and I feel like I need a second one, especially with the amount of stars and hearts that I am using. It's currently sold out, but scrapbook.com does have the option to notify you when it does come back in stock. And so when it does, I will probably pick up another set just because it's a little bit easier to run it through twice at the same time when you're making a ton of tiny stars, which I have started to use up the scraps that I used to throw away. Because these things are so tiny, I'm able to get a lot of tiny stars and hearts made. And I'm only doing it with my Doodlebug petite prints because I know that I can use that on a bunch of different layouts. Anytime I have scraps of the Doodlebug petite prints, I'm making those stars or hearts, and I have started to collect those as well. I just love the way that they look. So I added actually 4 sets of tiny stars. really focused around those 2x2 photos because I wanted to draw your eyes to those photos. So in two of the clusters, I added 2 cherry and 1 swimming pool, and then in the other 2 clusters, I added 2 swimming pools and 1 cherry. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.